Hi, Chris. Thanks for calling me back. Um, yeah. Just 1 second, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just in the middle of something. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. I've contacted you because there are several outstanding issues that have not been resolved, and first of all, I wanted to just touch base with you to see if there's been any updates, particularly regarding my brother's healthcare issues, like
No,
resp.
there's no updates now.
Okay, but you have relayed my sentiments because one of the problems I'm having is that the um, the GP practice in Oldham is no longer looking to engage with me. Okay, so
Yeah.
obviously I'm sending them emails every day, asking them for like disclosure information. They're just refusing to speak to us. Now, last time when I did speak to them, like, towards November. November, December time. If you recall, they disclosed to me a voice message, voice messages or voice communications between your manager, Vicina Brown, and the GP practice. So quite clearly, there's a communication channel there. But like as it presently stands, my brother can't do anything, and I can't do anything. So why is this issue not being dealt with?
Which issue is that, sorry?
Well, with regards to the issue, particularly is this that you, the local authority, have worked with the Office of the Public Guardian to remove my lasting power of attorneys. One of them was with for property and finances, and the other one was for health and welfare. Now, in the you've basically bought off the judges in order to become the deputy for property and finance, but you've left Talib and myself in a legal vacuum where nobody's legally responsible for his health and welfare. And obviously, this situation is not acceptable because, on the one hand, you're saying that Talib lacks capacity to manage his own finances, so we're going to take care of his finances, and we're then going to dictate to you how you can spend that money or how much money you can get, which we're obviously refusing to engage with because we feel that's unlawful. But as you can appreciate, more than just the money, you're not having any responsibility. You're not looking to take on any responsibility for his health and welfare, and yet you are sabotaging my attempts to engage with him. Now, you've said to me that, oh, you can do this in the you can do this on behalf of your brother. Well, no, I can't, because obviously your manager Vicina Brown is sabotaging the relationships. I have previously proceeded to do exactly that, because obviously it was a priority for me to ensure that my brother's at least getting some healthcare services, particularly GP services, particularly his medication. So I did register my brother from the GP practice in Bradford to the GP practice in Oldham, if you recall, when we were first made homeless in 2021. Subsequently, from 2021, you, the local authority, have proceeded to sabotage that relationship by giving instructions to that Sun Valley medical practice in Oldham, hence thus necessitating them, unilaterally discharging us on some pretext that, oh, I was being aggressive to the staff members there, which is totally ridiculous. No police was called, but they have found the appropriate pretext to get rid of us from that practice. We've gone to a new practice at Greenbank, and you, the local authority, continue to engage with the GP practices, purportedly acting as a professional body and an authority, and looking to engage with those people and raising false flag safeguarding alerts. However, we're left in a situation where Talib has nobody to act on his behalf regarding the health and welfare. Now, as much as I have been trying to engage with the practice, I've got Talib to sign off an authority letter so I can act on his behalf. But that authority letter is negated by the malevolent actions taken by you, the council, because obviously my brother in March 2022 has authorized me to get his medical records. Subsequently, you've got an order in May which was done clandestinely without my involvement, saying don't provide him with any disclosure. So now, we're in a situation where we can't go forward. And obviously, I'm highlighting these issues to yourself, and you say, "Well, there's no progress." Why is there no progress? Who's made the decision to remove his lasting power of attorney for health and welfare? And,
I don't know. Was that the court's decision? I think you know more about it than I do.
yeah, I
I've not
understand,
really
but
parlayed to that information.
yeah, I understand. Okay, well, the reality is that I had registered my brother after he was discharged into my care since December 2018. If you recall, if your record will show you that he was obviously held in lawful custody from August to December 2018. He was initially discharged into my care over the Christmas period from on the 14th of December 2018, and then more formally discharged into me to me in January 2019, and then subsequently in 2019, attempts were being made by your predecessors, Vicina Brown, CMHT, and Dr. Sami to carry out an unlawful capacity assessment. All that failed. Subsequently, put in place 2 lasting power of attorneys for property and finances and health and welfare. Now, you, the local authority, have instructed Office of the Public Guardian to remove them, so that they're the ones that instigated court proceedings, but with your involvement. So these have been suspended because you, the council, did this. So you, the council, had done this because previously you've taken a appointeeship of his benefit money unlawfully. Because Talib's not authorized you to take a possession of his DWP benefit money, and then you've created like a false order, retrospective false order regarding becoming his deputy. But irrespective of because you understand, Mr. Browell, that I've told you many times, if my brother has mental capacity and then he's in a position to authorize me to take care of his finances, if he's in a position to legally authorize me to take care of his finances, your criminal convictions falls apart, so it conflicts with your criminal conviction. So therefore, you, the council, have sought fit to instruct the Office of the Public Guardian to initially suspend and remove both the lasting power of attorneys. You've made yourself the deputy for his finances, but as I explained last time, what about his health and welfare? Why that's a negligent part on both yourself as the local authority, negligent on the part of the Office of the Public Guardian, but most importantly is the negligent part of the court protection, because obviously you've just bought the judge off. The judge, any impartial judge, would say, all right, look, I've suspended the lasting power of attorneys for property and finances and health and welfare. All right, I'm going to make Bradford Council because I think it would conflict with the criminal conviction. So I'm going to put Bradford Council in charge of the Talib's finances. All right, but what about his health and welfare?
So I've relayed the information. I mean, there hasn't been any kind of a MDT meeting recently. I think you've probably kind of made similar requests and things for quite a long time, Shazad. So I don't think they're too eager to provide
I understand. Okay. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Thank you for your openness and transparency in the matter. All I can do is raise those issues. As you can appreciate, initially I did raise a safeguarding alert I believe in June or July 2018. All right, when obviously my brother was being neglected, and Adalat was appointed to be his deputy, and then as a result of me raising those sort of safeguarding alerts to both yourself and the Office of the Public Guardian, that resulted in both Bradford Council and Care Trust coming on the 3rd of August 2018 and kidnapping my brother. All right, and then forcibly taking him into your care and custody. Like I said, subsequently he's been released into my care. If they're not willing to answer these questions, but can you understand? Conversely, I've just received today, and what's triggered me to call you up today is, first of all, I tried to contact you on Friday because basically the GP practice are saying, look, we don't want to talk to you anymore. Effectively, they're just ghosting me. So I'm ringing them up, I'm sending them emails, I'm trying to say, look, I need to know Talib's disclosure of his medical records so I can look to procure his services. Basically, I'm being ghosted from the GP. So that's why I rang you up on Friday. I didn't get through to you. I've rang you up today simply because, similarly, you, the council, have now issued out council tax liabilities. All right? So not only have you issued out council tax liabilities for the property that we're residing in now at 20 Primary Way, you've obviously sent me a council tax liability for the property of 10 Thornbury Avenue. And the council tax liability is like over £25,000. All right? And £25,000 for what? All right, you're on the one hand claiming that we're charging 300% of the council tax because the properties remained empty for 10 years. So I've got this, council tax to me that says that you're charging those 300% council tax. for the property that's in my name that I was holding on trust from my brother Talib, which we would be entitled to, council tax benefit on. Relief on. And also, in the past, that's what's been happening is that, I shouldn't have to pay council tax, and neither does my brother, because obviously we're on qualifying benefits. And similarly, with regards to council tax, you, the council, are looking to send out liabilities, and I'm just looking at this council tax in front of me, and it's for basically nearly it's for £30,000. It says here council tax from before is £25,000, and this year is £5,000, in excess of £5,000. So you're basically saying that I owe you in excess of £30,000 of council tax. And the reason that it's so high is because the property remains empty. But the reason that our property remains empty is because I'm having to provide care and support services to my brother, because that property is not adequately to meet his needs. So you're at the same time triggering me and saying you owe us £30,000. So when I say you owe me £1 million a week, you're just ignoring that. And then, obviously, you're going to charge me £30,000 of council tax. If I just ignore that, there's serious consequences to me. You can put me to court, you can put me to jail again. But there's no consequences to you. So, on the same hand, it's like, I don't know who's making these decisions, but, like, the reason I'm ringing you up is because, obviously, it's becoming an urgent issue now that my brother's not getting access. On the one hand, in 2018, when you had my brother in your care and custody, Vicina Brown had made statements that I was not giving my brother any medication, and therefore I should be removed as his nearest relative in favour of the Health and Wellbeing Director, Bev Maybury at the time. That all failed. But your pretext was that I was not giving him any medication, and therefore that necessitated you taking legal action against me to remove me as nearest relative. And now you know for a fact that my brother's not receiving any medication. And he's not been receiving any medication because the GPs are not been providing any medication. And the GPs are not providing any medication because we cannot take on their services. So, it's just all geared in your favour, isn't it? You just say that you owe us this money. You the council have made up this policy of 300% council tax on an empty property. The reason the property is empty is because my brother can't live there, and he's moved to a place which is adapted to meet his needs. Here, when we're here, you've instructed the housing association not to give us a tenancy contract because we would be entitled to housing benefit. Alright, our rent would be paid by the council. So as it presently stands, you, the council, are not paying anything. And you're just throwing out liabilities. You're not paying anything to meet your social care needs. You're looking to take over the property of 10 Thornbury Avenue, saying, I've fraudulently put that on my name, when the reality is there's no fraud taken place at all. You're throwing out council tax liabilities. So basically, you're just saying, we just give us money, extorting money out of me, bullying and intimidating me, and you're not looking to resolve some serious issues. I remind you that one of the reasons that you managed to kick me out of the house was that you were so worried about my mother. Saying, I'm not providing her with care and support services, nobody's seen his mother, we need to take legal action in order to, provide my mother with support services. And so, but what about my brother Talib? And you're not providing him with any support services, you're not willing to do anything. It just seems very, thuggish and tyrannical on your part, and nobody's doing anything. Why is that? Obviously my brother's got hundreds of thousands of pounds that you're unlawfully controlling and not giving him access to. And and when I ring you up, Mr. Browell, the reason I'm ringing you up, you're the only person I can speak to. Alternatively, the council says to me that, you need to put things in writing. When I put things in writing, they don't reply. And if they do reply, they just give me some gobbledygook of one word or one phrase answers to dismiss what I'm saying. So, obviously I'm in desperation ringing you up, and obviously, as you can appreciate, there's a cost of living crisis where you're driving us into debt and destitution while you're sitting back and watching us and not doing anything. Is that not negligent on your part?
I'm sorry, I haven't got a very good answer. I don't know enough about it, Shazad. So all I can do is kind of relay the information and request. If I don't get anything back, I don't get anything back.
Yeah, I understand this. I understand this. I mean, like I said, the whole point of me ringing you up, I'm not demanding anything from you, am I, Mr. Browell? All right.
No.
I know the fact that you're not in a position to do anything. All right, because you're just basically a mouthpiece for the local authority. Because obviously, I'm the Office of the Public Guardian. Because the last time you attempted to visit was, I believe, on the 22nd of December when you were looking to pass court paperwork to us, which is outside of your remit. The reality is that those paperwork should have been handed to us by the Office of the Public Guardian, and they should have been handed to us in May, June time, not in December. But obviously, they're utilizing you for their benefit. So anything that is in the council's benefit, so they will use you for, or have you in place for entirely for their benefit, not to benefit us. Because obviously your remit is to assist Talib. He's your client, and obviously if he's getting council tax liabilities, you're the council. And so similarly, I've also contacted, did you receive my email that I included you in with regards to making a subject access request?
Yes, I saw that email, yeah.
Okay, all right. And so subsequently, I've told them the law states that they don't require excessive amounts of our passport and driving license if we have an ongoing relationship. And the response I've received from them is that, oh no, we're not relying on third parties. Can you explain to me exactly how are you a third party?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I don't know their policies on that.
Because you're not, in this regard, you're not a third party, are you?
I work for the council.
So the council's the first party, isn't it? So you're not the third party. Like, we're the second party. Me and my brother have made a subject access request to Bradford Council. Another employee of Bradford Council, namely the data protection officer, is saying that we can't be reliant on third party identification. So you're not a third party. We don't have a personal relationship with you. You're not acting. I'm not calling you up as Mr. Christopher Browell as a citizen. I'm calling you up as Mr. Christopher Browell as an employee of Bradford Council, as the only talking point I've got. And they basically put in place a policy document saying that I need to put things in writing. But then I have a policy document as well that states that every word that you want me to write down for you, there's a £10 cost for that. And you're not willing to pay that cost though. So you're trying to force me into your policies and procedures that are to your benefit. So you've designed these policies and procedures that are in your preferred method of communication, your preferred method of contact, all down to you. That's how the council have designed those. You've created a policy document that says that I can only communicate on a particular email address. I can only communicate on the number of emails I can send, or the number of correspondence I can send. And then obviously you are within your liberty to respond to those emails or not if you choose to do so. But those are your policies that you're forcing me into, right? I said I want to speak to somebody. I have a policy as well. My policies, I can speak to somebody. But then the council or the other people say, well, we prefer things to be in writing, so we've got a record of it. But I say in contravention to that is that I record the calls. You don't have a right to record the calls. I record the calls. So I've got a record of every time I've called. So that's not an argument. But it's just basically, everybody's hiding behind the corporate veil, putting you in front. So if I can be abusive or aggressive, I have to be abusive or aggressive to you. And I've told you I won't be doing that, because obviously I understand that they're just fronting you. But in the meantime, they're nothing's getting resolved here, and there's a vulnerable adult whom, you have a duty of care to. All right? And it just concerns me that, here it says that, you're charging in the council tax, you're charging part of the council tax, and I'm sure, did you say you're a resident of Bradford, Mr. Browell?
No, I didn't, no.
Are you a resident of Leeds?
No, I don't feel comfortable.
Okay, all right. I mean, the reason I ask that, if assuming that you work in Bradford, you're a resident of Bradford, then obviously you also are responsible for council tax. And in part of the council tax breakdown, it says you're charging for adult social care. The council tax are attributed Bradford Metropolitan Council, District Council includes a precept to fund adult social care. So you're charging not only me and my brother, but every single ratepayer extra money for adult social care. So you're collecting all this money from the public, But you're not then providing us with any support in adult social care to my brother. So, like, I'm simply at aghast of what I can do here. You've got your policies, all right, and then you're charging also. You created a policy. It's not law. You just created a policy stating that if a property is empty for a period of time, we're going to charge you 300% council tax, all right. So, in this case, yeah, the council tax is for per property, I think, is just under £2,000, but you can charge nearly £4,000 of an empty property. So these are your policies that are endangering me and my brother's life. And I also have a policy. I've told you, I've been quite clear about my policies as well. My policy is that I record my calls. That's my policy. My policy is I charge £1 million a week for the care, social care that I provide, that you have a legal duty of care to. So you want to just ignore my policies, but you want me to force into your policies, and your policies are effectively looking to make us destitute, make us like subservient to you, and make us issue tyranny against us. So obviously you're the only point of contact that I've got. Now I've received 2 council tax bills now. One for the property that we're residing in, which we are effectively don't have a tenancy for, and another property which is my brother's property, which is in my name, that you're now charging me a council tax liability for of nearly £30,000, and nothing's getting resolved though. So can you?
Have you spoken with the council tax office or?
But no, I haven't. No, I'm not. I don't need to speak to 10 different people, because if I speak to the council tax people, they'll just act dumb. We don't know what's going on. I don't know. All right. They'll write to us, or all these other things. You're the only point of contact that we have. You can speak to the council taxpayer on behalf of Talib, can't you?
I don't know. I suppose I could do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to me, but get any better.
Because I tell you why. Because I actually ended up in the Bradford Britannia house several years ago when you were trying to pull this trick about charging me council tax. So when I was there, I was trying to speak to somebody, at the Britannia house, and when I was there, I randomly bumped into Mr. Fungai, who was there with his client. And I asked him also, what are you doing here and stuff? I'm just here dealing with my council tax. And he told me, I'm just dealing with my client's council tax issue as well. So under those circumstances, your predecessor, Mr. Fungai Machichiteri, was at Britannia House dealing with his client's council tax. And so similarly, in this regard, look, rather than being a point of contact, rather than just being a mouthpiece for the council, you still have a duty of care. My brother's not receiving any benefit money. He's facing homelessness. He's got court proceedings regarding getting him evicted. He's got council tax liabilities, all right? And I'm tasked to do all these things, and then obviously I'm charging for this. You're not looking to recognize my charges. So look, Mr. Browell, none of these things are getting resolved, are they? No, because the reality is that my brother's entitled to live in this house for free. He's entitled to housing benefit. He's entitled to council tax. He's entitled to a lot of money. Most importantly, he's entitled to social security money. All of this money you're holding as a council and sitting on top of it, are not giving us any access or resolving the situation, and just basically terrorizing us. So the reason I'm ringing you up, Mr. Browell, is that obviously I would like something to be resolved. He's not getting access to his own GP practice. He's got access to nothing. And ultimately, it seems quite evident to me that you're looking to terrorize me in order to, what happens under these circumstances. Carers have a carer burnout, and it just seems that you're sitting on the fence waiting for me to have a carer burnout so that you can just jump in and then take custody of our brother, which is obviously is not what he wants. Obviously he's got a sister in Oldham that's obviously worried about him. I'm worried about him, all right, and you are just basically sitting on the fence saving money and costing us money. You're not spending a penny, are you? As a council, you're not spending any money in social care, so you're collecting money from the ratepayers, all right, and you're saying that you're putting it into a fund for adult social care. How much of that fund of adult social care has been given to Talib?
No, not for his care.
No, nothing. No,
Yeah.
so you're collecting money and you're effectively asking me to pay 300% or 400% in council tax so you can put money into a fund that you're not giving him. All right? And not only are you not giving him any adult social care fund money that you're collecting from the public, you're actually not even giving him his Department of Work and Pension money, which is you don't even have a right to collect. So you're collecting his Department of Work and Pension money. Mr. Browell, you're an intelligent person. You can understand that you're putting us into this highly vexatious situation. At the same time, the cost of living crisis we're having to endure. Everything's costing us a lot more money. The reality is, Mr. Browell, that you're forcing me and my brother to live off my carer's allowance of £67 a week. While at the same time, everything's getting expensive for us. And you're not looking to resolve anything, and yet you're sitting back not doing anything. Now my brother's suffering. My brother's lost a lot of weight. He's losing, he's lost a lot of teeth. I'm having struggling feeding him. Effectively, my brother's become a mannequin. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything. I have to feed him. I have to, literally feed him by hand now. He's doubly incontinent, so he doesn't go to the toilet. I've had to change all his pads. I have to bathe him. I regularly try to take him swimming now. And so I'm providing with all this stuff. And I'm not getting remunerated. Or my time and cost and labour is not being remunerated. And yet I'm subjected to some level of extortionate tyranny. You're extorting money out of us. So you've got a fund called It's called Adult Social Care Fund. How much money is in that fund? Because we had a fund as well. Our family care trust fund. You've stolen that. You're saying that no, that's all fraudulent. So the money that you're accumulating was being initially accumulated in our family trust fund. That was money not only for Talib, that was only my money, that was my mum's money, that was my dad's money, that was my other disabled brother's money, alright, my sister's money. All that money was being accumulated, alright, to a tune of maybe over £500,000. That fund was there for their benefit. You've reclassified our fund as proceeds of crime and stolen all that money when it was legitimate. But now you're doing exactly the same thing. You're going around with your, a begging hat, going to all the residents of Bradford saying, give us extra money in the council tax so we can fund social care. But you're not providing us with any social care. And you do accept the fact that Talib particularly, you do have a legal duty of care to provide him with social care, don't you?
Yes, when best, yeah.
Not only under best, but under Section 117 of the aftercare.
When someone's assessed under the Care Act to have support needs, then yeah, there's a duty to provide that care and support.
So the duty to provide it, but you can charge for that, can't you? The duty is there, but you can charge for that under best. But under Section 117, you can't even charge for it, can you?
From 117, if someone's got 117 aftercare, then that means that they don't have to make a contribution to the cost of that care.
So that's right. So Talib does not have to make any contribution to the cost of his care, and yet he's not receiving any care. And why is he not receiving any finances from the Adult Social Care Fund?
Because you're acting as his carer.
Okay, and am I doing that for free?
Well, you'd say that you're kind of charging costs.
Yes, and in the alternative, if you don't pay me the costs, how much am I being remunerated officially for providing 24-hour care 7 days a week?
At the moment, nothing.
No, that's not correct. I actually do receive carers allowance.
You got carers allowance.
Yeah, so that's £67 a week. Oh, sorry, £69 a week. So at £69 a week, all right, and I've explained to you that I can't work I can't go to. I've got obviously a software engineering degree. I can get a proper paying job. But at just £69 a week divided by £168. So you're basically paying me 41. I'm basically forced to work at 41 pence an hour. Can you tell me how much is the minimum wage for the legal minimum wage for an adult?
£9, I think, an hour.
So you're effectively paying me 41 pence to provide an hourly rate of care, and minimum wage is £9 an hour. Can I just ask, considering you work in this sector, you don't pay carers minimum wage to provide care for assessed care needs, do you?
No.
Okay, so what is the mean or medium level of pay that you pay an hour for care?
I don't know. She died. I would have thought it's about £9 an hour.
But £9 an hour is a minimum wage, you know. Agencies don't charge minimum £9 an hour.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, what we pay at the moment.
Okay, well, I'm kind of surprised. Don't you have any other clients that you've assessed as needing adult social care that are receiving care and support services from?
Yeah, they pay the agency. So yeah, it's comfortably over £10 an hour. I think that they pay the agency. So then the agency pay the staff.
That's correct. Yes. So it's comfortably over, because from several years ago it can be £15 an hour. So effectively, if it's £15 an hour, let's just say, I'm not saying that it is £15 an hour, but an agency worker doesn't do anything less than £15 an hour. Now if it's £15 an hour times 168 hours I do, that's over £2,500 that you would ordinarily be paying, and effectively you're basically saving £2,500 from me. Why would I help you, the council, save £2,500 a week for your benefit? Why would I do that while you put me into prison on false charges and effectively kidnapped my mother and murdered her, and we didn't even get to see her? Or you're terrorizing us. You can't have it both ways. You can't collect money from the public, saying that we've got a fund together called Adult Social Care Fund. So you're charging money from the public, and at the same time you're not spending that money, and yet you're exploiting my labour. Look, Mr. Browell, I don't need to take up more of your time. I'm very grateful that you've contacted me, obviously spoken back to me. But just before imparting, can you explain to me how this is justified or equitable?
I think my understanding that the courts have made the decision. I can understand you've got an opinion of that and you don't agree with that decision. I could try and help in light of that decision by trying to support Talib to access his money via the appointee shifts and try and support him with his health and welfare as well to kind of sign up to GP surgery. But I'd need to be able to see him, but I can understand we're at a bit of a standoff because you're not in support of that decision. So.
No, but Mr. Browell, that's not the question I asked you. All right, because that's your present position, because that serves your agenda and your benefit. You're effectively asking us. So basically what's done is the Bradford Council has bought off the judges and the judiciary. Now, if I ask you, what do I do when the judges are bought off? So basically the judges are prostituting out their services to Bradford Council on a quid pro quo basis. The police won't investigate that. All right, the police won't even investigate. The police force is falling apart. They will not investigate criminality taking place by Bradford Council and by buying off the judiciaries. All right, so that's the reality of the situation that we're faced with. Now, I've also been criminally convicted of defrauding my brother and all my other family members of money and gone into jail. You're not in a position to overturn that decision, are you? No, you're not, because obviously that's a legal decision by a judge. You're not a judge to overturn that decision. So in addition to that, you've then proceeded to get more judges bought off, and obviously got a court order stating that you're in charge of his finances. All right, and obviously you're looking to work within the framework, which is basically that I'm a criminal, I'm the bad guy, you're going to take all the money, and you've got all the legal authority, and your remit as his care coordinator working in Bradford Council is to work within that framework, and within that framework you can help Talib get registered with a GP, and within that framework you can help us get some money that that you're collecting. But and the reason I don't agree with that is because you're effectively asking me to accept and agree that everything that you're doing is lawful and legal, and effectively asking me to accept guilt that does not exist. All right, but that's not the question I asked you. I asked you the question in relation to the fact that how is it justified and equitable that you are effectively, the state of which the council works for, are effectively forcing me to live off £41 an hour, when and effectively saving or £69 a week, while at the same time that you, the council, are effectively saving over £2,500 a minimum a week that I'm helping you save. All right, and at the same time you're collecting all this money from the public regarding adult social care fund. So I'm asking you, how is that in any way justified, lawful, legal, or equitable, or a situation that you placed us in? That, how can you justify that? How is that reasonable?
It's not for me to justify that. It's not for me to. It's beyond my role and my responsibility.
Okay, well, but can you understand that effectively you're putting me into a position of slavery and servitude? You may not be in a position to do anything about it, but the reality is that when I say you're making me your slave, and this is slavery, how can you argue that point? How can you contradict or argue that point that this is not slavery? Because on the one hand, you're getting me to save you over £2,500 a week by exploiting my labour, but then at the same time you're charging us council tax of £30,000. I'm just asking you to help me understand how this is anything other than tyrannical and villainous. Help me understand how this is not criminal.
These decisions that have been made in the courts, if you don't agree with them, that's fair enough, but I can't. All I can say is that there's decisions and there's a process that has been followed that included the courts, so I don't know what you want me to say.
No, Mr. Browell, the aspect of the courts is only to do with your legal authority, all right? So you've gone to the courts and you have criminalized me, saying I'm financially abusing my loved ones. You've then put me into jail and you've taken the money. You've then subsequently gone to the court and said, because he's a criminal, we want to be charged of Talib's money. And so, but we're not talking about the courts now. What I'm talking about, no court order has been put in place forcing me to be on £67 a week. No court order has been put into place that states that you don't have to pay me, the cost of the care costs. No court order has been put in place that prevents, us accessing any funds. No court order has prevented you from assessing my brother's or recognizing that my brother has care needs. No court order said, yes, we recognize that Mr. Talib Hussain has care needs, but you don't need to pay those care needs, and you can basically enslave his brother and get his brother to do that, and while we save money. No court order has done that. And all I'm asking you is that, given the fact that the society is facing a cost of living crisis, that obviously I don't need to have you argue with me on this point, the fact that the cost of living is going high. Even the utility bills, how are we meant to pay the utility bills? All right, How are we meant to pay the council tax liability? How are we meant to pay the rent? How are we meant to pay all the bills on £67 a week? How are we supposed to live?
Well, you know what the answer is? It will be to accept money from the appointee.
So you're effectively asking, you're basically hamstringing us to accept the fact that what you've done is criminal. It's not criminal. All right, we've told you that we can't accept the money because we can't accept the money because it seems criminal to us. It seems proceeds of crime. All right, and like it is proceeds of crime because obviously you're effectively, by accepting the money, you're effectively by proxy or ergo, you're asking us to accept that my brother lacks mental capacity. That's right, isn't it? Because if we take the money, we are effectively accepting the fact that my brother lacks mental capacity, because we're then agreeing with what you're saying. So we can't accept the money, because you're effectively asking us to accept the fact that you accept the money. We are effectively tacitly agreeing that not only does my brother lack mental capacity, the fact that I've been stealing his money and that I deserve to be going to jail and have all our private family trust fund taken away from her, all that becomes justified because I'm effectively accepting the money. So you're blackmailing us to accept this money, and we're saying, how have you got this money? Prove to us that you've got. How have you got this money lawfully? Just because you got a court order does not mean it's lawful. We don't understand. How have you got my brother Talib? I was my brother Talib's DWP appointee. How did that get removed and given to Adalat? All right. How did that DWP appointee then get removed and given to you, Bradford, the council? And you're going to say to me, well, I don't know about that. That's something to do with the DWP. I'm in conversation with the DWP and they're not giving us these answers. So, with respect, Mr. Browell, I'm not asking you what your professional opinion is. I'm asking you for your personal opinion in this regard, that how is what's happening to us legal, lawful and justified? How is it the fact that you're effectively enslaving me to live off 41 pence an hour, while at the same time you're saving over £2,500 at a minimum in social care costs? I'm asking you the question that how do you as a ratepayer justify paying the council tax cost of adult social care funds when you know the fact that we're not receiving any of those funds? I'm asking you the simple question of how is what's happening to us legal, lawful or justified?
And I'm even as a personal opinion, I don't know enough about it, Shazad. All I can say is, even as a personal opinion, the matters have been going through the courts for several years, and you kind of go along with what the courts are saying or not.
No, I understand that because that's your professional job, yes. But how? Like the reality is that I'm just trying to obviously look, Mr. Browell. I'm going to look to end the call now because I think we're not making any progress, or I'm not going to. I don't want to waste your time and stuff, right? So, but I'm just trying to understand this, yeah. That on the one hand, do you accept that my brother has, care needs? Yes.
He needs to be assessed.
No.
From what you say, it sounds like he does have care needs.
Yes,
he does.
Yes, and you can assess them now, but obviously he was in your care and custody from August 2018 to December 2018. You also know the fact that he suffers from a degenerative condition of like getting older. He's got mental health problems. You know the fact that he's schizophrenic. You know the fact that he's doubly incontinent because you've had to deal with that when he was in your care and custody. It's not the fact that he's come out and those things have been improved. So he does have. It would be reasonable to assume that he has the care needs that I'm stating, that they exist, and he does have care needs. Number one. And number two is that if he does have care needs, you do understand that you have a legal duty to provide him with those care needs.
If those care needs have been assessed, yeah.
Yes. So he has a legal right to care needs after being assessed or to meet those needs, and you also accept the fact that there's no cost associated with meeting those care needs because of his Section 117 status.
Right. It all starts from a person being assessed. You can't just give money out when a person hasn't been assessed. So for that assessment, it would need to be seen and a carer.
Okay, but he was in your care and custody in August 2018. All right,
So,
and so he was discharged. He was discharged without a care plan. That's a failure on your part. So yeah, so you can't say to me now, Mr. Browell, that I don't know about that. It's on his care records. We don't have a personal relationship with you. And remember, I'm not asking you for you to change things. The reality is that he was in your care and custody from August 2018 to December 2018. You discharged him into my care. You had an opportunity to assess him. You chose not to assess him. I made it clear to Dr. Rashmi Dixon and in the multidisciplinary meeting where Fungai Muchichitiri was present. I asked and invited both Bali Nota, who was not there, Vicina Brown, who was not there, her service manager Nadia Khan, who was not there. They should have come and we should have had those discussions then. I said the fact that if you're going to discharge him into my care, that this is the cost associated with providing him with that care, where it was £1 million a week. That was your opportunity to assess him. You chose not to do so. That was a negligence and failure on your part. We could have had those discussions then in January 2019. He was in your care and custody. Subsequently, you've discharged him into my care and providing him with that care of £1 million a week. You can't then say, well, now we're going to do now we're going to retrospectively do a carers assessment, or now we're going to do a mental capacity assessment. I begged and insisted to Dr. Rashmi Dixon that he should have a mental capacity assessment carried out. I refused to accept him into my care until a care plan was in place, until his housing situation got resolved, because there was a danger that he would end up being homeless. I asked for a mental capacity assessment. And you chose not to do that. That was a multidisciplinary meeting that you chose not to do that. Subsequently, he's ended up being homeless. We're now in that situation. You can't say several years later, oh, we're going to do things now. From now on, we're going to fix things. It's not from now on. What about all the backdated costs? So you won't backdate your costs, but look what you've done to us. You've backdated the council tax for a year ago. All right, all of a sudden we just got council tax backdated a year. So you will only backdate things that are in your interest. And yet I've made it quite clear from January 2018 that I've also gone to court and declared that in court my care costs are £1 million a week. And you're not looking to negotiate with me on this. You're not looking to engage with me on this. What you're looking to do is terrorize me by sending me council tax liabilities of £30,000. Now, Mr. Browell, given our circumstances, that I'm living off £64 or £69 a week, all right, you've taken all my savings away, you've put me into debt, you've taken £500,000 as a council from our trust fund, you've put a further £300,000 debt liability on my shoulders, all right, you're not providing any money to Talib. How are we meant to pay a £30,000 council tax on a property that's empty? And the council knows this. All right, how are we meant to do this? You're deliberately weaponizing your council tax collection process to terrorize us. You the council have gone previously in the court proceedings, which you would not be personally aware of. You the council have then looked to put me, on charges of contempt of court. And you have gone to the court and said, we want to have him custodially sentenced because he does not have any money. So he's got no money. So the only option is to send him to prison because he's acted in contempt of court. So you know the fact that I've got no money. And so when it serves your agenda, you want to take that and say the fact that, oh, he's got no money. And so therefore we should put him into prison. All right. And then you realize after you kicked me out of the house, that there was £1,000 in the house, which you've still got in cash, that you're not giving us access to. So you've stolen £1,000 from my care home. Subsequently, you've also then I've come back to the care home and realized that you've stolen my Bitcoin wallet. Nobody's addressing these issues. So you've got all. This is how obviously you can see the fact that the only choice I've got is to record what I'm saying. Nothing's happening because what have you done? You've come to our house. You've stolen £1,000 from my bedroom. You've stolen my mother's jewelry. Then you've murdered my mother. You still got her jewelry. Who do I need to speak to regarding my mum's jewelry? Regarding the £1,000 that you've taken from our bedroom? All right. Regarding the £58 million Bitcoin wallet that you've stolen. Who do I need to speak to about this? Yet you're sending me these obscene letters saying that I owe you £30,000 council tax on a empty property where you're charging 300% council tax. Look, Mr. Browell, nothing's getting resolved. Now you're going to take all this stuff, you're going to relay it to your manager, all right? No doubt, Nadia Khan, and then nothing's going to happen.
I don't know what to say, Shazad.
Obviously, we can't pay this £30,000 council tax. Where are we going to get the money from? You pay me my labour costs, and I can then pay the council tax.
So you need to speak with the council tax department.
But who in the council? No, the council tax people will tell me the same. Can you understand? If I ring up the council tax, they're going to say we don't know what's going on. I'm just doing my little bit of the job. I need to speak to the decision maker, don't I? So who's told them that we're living here? Who's changed our council tax address? So somebody's done this. Who's put a council tax in me and my brother's name? So I need to speak to not the people in the council tax. That's just passing me from pillar to post. I need to speak to the decision maker. But you won't tell me who the decision maker is.
I don't know who the decision maker is, Shazad.
Who's responsible for paying my brother's social care costs?
One person. I don't think there's one person responsible for that.
But before, was it not Mr. Mark Truin who was in charge of the money?
Right, well, Nadia Khan, I think, took over from Mark Truin.
Okay, all right. So Nadia Khan's responsible for paying the cost of Talib's care?
Well, as we said, it would need to be assessed, and there isn't an assessment.
But Nadia Khan failed to carry out the assessment when my brother was discharged. So can I just ask, is the care assessment going to be backdated to December 2018?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh.
In general speaking, no.
No, it doesn't. In one word, it doesn't. So whenever we're desperate enough or we fall apart, so the care assessment starts. The cost of the care starts from the time of the care assessments carried out, and the care assessment is only what the care needs are presently.
As far as I'm aware, yeah, that's the case.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So therefore, you are incentivized to not carry out the care previously from December 2018. So, but what about the cost of all that care? Because obviously, if he's assessed as having those needs, like, look, I'm just trying to understand what your position is. If, for example, me and a Talib agree to have our care assessed needs met now, let's just say for argument's sake, and for argument's sake that you determine that his care costs, he requires 24-hour care, 7 days a week, all right? That's all you can assess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then how do you propose that those care, after assuming that he requires 24-hour care 7 days a week, how do you propose those care needs are to be met?
Well, it would need a care planning meeting, and it will be a case of, will the person need to be in residential care as has the person got capacity to decide where they want to live? And unfortunately, so that you need a decision in the care planning meeting.
Okay, but no, after having that discussion, can you understand that you would be incentivized to pre-conclude that he lacks mental capacity and in his best interest he belongs in a care home, all right? Because that's in your financial interest. But assuming that we carry out a capacity assessment and assuming that you determine that he requires 24-hour care 7 days a week, and assuming that you accept that he has mental capacity, and assuming the fact that he refuses to go into a care home, how do you propose to meet his care needs?
When he's in a care home?
No, I said, assuming that we carry out a capacity, care needs assessment, and assuming that you determine that assessing his needs, he requires 24-hour care 7 days a week, and then assuming the fact that you recognize that he has mental capacity, and assuming the fact that he's refusing to go into a care home, and it's not in his best interest to go into a care home, what options are available to Talib to meet his...
I don't know. That's something that I'd need to make a referral to the legal department to kind of advice on that.
No, but have you in your position, have you ever found yourself in a situation because somebody requires extensive care needs that have mental capacity?
Yes,
Yes, and if they have 24-hour care needs and they don't want to go into a care home, all right, that's a deprivation of their liberty or deprivation of their human rights to a private family life. How have you as a council in other cases met the needs of somebody who requires 24-hour care, 7 days care a week?
I don't know. I've never worked on a case like that. There is probably cases like that. A person who's determined not to go into a care home, they've got capacity, they're making that decision. I don't know whether that care would be provided for in the home. I'm not sure if it'd be as easy as that. If the person's got capacity, they might have to make a decision to either being in a care home and receiving that support or not.
Okay.
Not receiving that support.
Okay.
They might get a similar level of care, but it might not be 24/7 care.
Okay. Well, obviously can I just ask how long have you been doing your job?
About 5 years.
Okay, so in the 5 years, you never come across a scenario which I'm describing to you, where somebody requires 24-hour care 7 days a week, and the council has a legal duty to provide that care, and they're not going to a care home.
No, I don't remember I've worked a case like that.
Okay,
no.
So let me tell you something. In my experience, and I'm going to tell you now, that is exactly the situation that my mum found herself in. So my mum required you the council were providing, you kicked me out of the house because I was running a care home, and I explained to you that I was charging 150 million pound for the care home. Now it's a 250 million pound. So I was running a care home and providing my mother with a care and charging the council £1 million a week. You the council said kicked me out of the house through a court order which I didn't attend. But then in my mother's case, so there is a person, isn't there, that you know about, that's your client Talib's mum was receiving 24-hour care 7 days a week, all right, and you were providing that care with 2 care workers coming to the house on a 24-hour basis.
Okay, right.
All right, so it does happen, but you the council did not pay for that though. You got money that I had saved up in my trust fund, classified that as proceeds of crime, all right, and stole that money from me to then give it to my mum, so then you could put in care agency workers on a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all right, at a cost to my mother and a cost saving to you. So, this is, can you understand, Mr. Browell? This is why I'm really concerned when you tell me that, look, we need to carry out a care needs assessment. The care needs assessment is a pretext for you to, number one, find ways to save costs, for you to, number two, determine that the client lacks mental capacity because you've already got the judges in your pocket. And number three is that even if the client is determined to have a mental capacity, you can still go to the courts and go and get your judge friends to say it's in the, even though the person has mental capacity, it's in their best interest to go into a care home, all right, which is then money that you can save on. So you're not giving us much options here. This is one of the reasons that we're in the situation, is because the framework that you have in place, the procedures that you have in place, are entirely to your own financial interest and benefit, and they are to my detriment and my brother's detriment. My brother does require 24-hour care. He does require 7 days a week care. All right. Your only option, the cheapest option for you, is when it's your money, when it's this adult social care fund that you're collecting from the public. You have a right to be efficient with that money, and so you would rather save that money and get the client to pay for it all, such as in my mum's case. But in my brother's case, you can't get him to pay for anything because his social care needs must be met through the Section 117, so he doesn't have to pay anything. So it's a net cost to you, and you're not willing to pay that cost. So you would rather violate his rights to having mental capacity, to assume to have mental capacity. You would rather violate those rights. You would rather violate his human rights to privacy and family life by saying it's in his best interest to go into a care home. So you're railroading someone like my brother, forcing him into a care home because it's in your economic interest to do so, not in his best interest. It's in your best interest. So can you understand why I'm nervous, or why I'm apprehensive of going through this charade? Number one, you're not going to backdate the care needs since he was discharged from hospital. You're going to start from whenever you want to start from them, and then you're going to say under the Care Act 2014 or so whatever, it's in his best interest to be put into a care home, and it's in his best interest to determine that he lacks mental capacity, and you've already got the judges on your payroll to do that. So how is this not criminal?
I don't know what to say. Sorry. Can we end the call, please?
Okay, yes, sorry. So we can look to end the call, but we're in a desperate situation, and I don't know what to do. And what are you going to suggest? What can happen? We're facing homelessness. We've got a cost of living crisis that we're having to endure. I'm ringing you up out of desperation. I know you can't help me, and I know that you're not going to be able to do anything, but in desperation, what do you want me to do? Nobody else is willing to talk to me. They're forcing me to put things in writing, and then they're not responding. I'm providing the legal framework. I'm going to the legislation and the law, which says that you can't do these things, but yet you're doing them, and we're suffering, and there's nobody I can go to. They'll tell me, oh, you can go to your member of parliament. Imran Khan is your puppet. He works for you. There's no MPs that I can go to. I've written to the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. Nobody's responding. I've written to the police. Nobody's responding. My mother's been murdered. All right, we're in desperation. We're ringing you up, and I don't know what to do, Mr. Browell. Tell me what I can do.
We'd just be going over old ground, Shazad. And I could tell you what to do, and that'll continue the conversation for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, and no, you can't tell me how to resolve the situation. All you can tell me to do is that, Mr. Hussain, I can assist you get a GP for your brother in Bradford. Mr. Hussain, I can assist you to get money that which I class as illegally holding. So those are the only things that you can assist me with today. And you're right, we're going to go around in circles if you tell me that, because I've just told you clearly and categorically why those things are not optional to us. You could say to me, Mr. Hussain, as your brother's care coordinator, I'm quite happy to meet with you and your brother to carry out a care needs assessment. All right? And you can also tell me today that, Mr. Hussain, for you personally, are you stressed out? Would you like a carer's assessment? I can also help you carry out a carer's assessment for you. You can offer me that, can't you, as well?
Yes, yeah,
All right,
that's true.
but you understand that we've gone through this, that the carers assessment, after completing a carers assessment, you're not under any legal obligations to do anything, and you can take that carers assessment and shove it in the bin. All right, so it's a pure exercise in futility. Also, the option of carrying out a care needs assessment for my brother, I also told you, is an exercise in futility, because ultimately you're going to find ways to get out of meeting those care cost needs by forcing him into going to a care home against his freedom and liberty. So that's a fraud. All right, and obviously with regards to assisting us to get his money that you're illegally holding, we can't accept that, because obviously you've procured that money through illegal and unlawful means by buying off the judges. So you're right, we're not going to resolve anything. But the situation presently is the fact that in the desperation, or I've already envisioned this. I've been doing this for the last 20 or so years, and that's hence why my only option is to charge you for my labor, which is £1 million a week. And I'm getting tired and I'm exhausted in speaking to yourself, Mr. Browell, about I might as well have more luck banging my head against a brick wall. So we will look to end the call today, and like I said, we're not resolving anything. And all I can do is personally thank you for your time to taking to listen to this situation, and I'm going to have to find another solution to this predicament that you, the council, have put me into. But it's very, very negligent, and I think you're endangering both me and my brother's life. Thank you, Mr. Browell.
Okay, thanks, cheers, thanks, bye.
So an absolute waste of my time and resources, all right, having to deal with this person. I've expressed everything that I need to express. I think we've been on this call now. So he's basically taking public money, my money, all right, and the ratepayers' money to justify his job, spend an hour explaining all the things to them, and ultimately he's like, yeah, we're gonna in one ear, out the other. We don't care what you're saying. We've got power and control. Ultimately, we have the right and we have the ability to buy off the judges. We can get any court order that we want. We can go through your bank accounts. We can go speak to your GP. We can even get your medical records. We can get all the data that we want from you. We can even go speak to your nefarious siblings, other people, your neighbors. We can get all the information, and then we can create a situation that's entirely in our financial interest and benefit as a corporation, and we can terrorize you, and we can put you into jail, and we can threaten you, and we can take away your freedom and liberty on one pretext or another. We can lie to you. We can even murder your family members. We can murder your brother Nazem. We can murder your mother. There's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is just sit there and suffer in silence, and don't talk to us, pay us money that I don't have, and just shut up and be quiet and suffer in silence. And so obviously my options are obviously to charge them for this for my labor, all right, which is £1 million a week, which they're not gonna pay. And like you said, he even accepts the fact that this whole thing, the whole legal system, is designed to take people and force them into a care home, which the council runs, so they can make money out that way out of you. They're taking people and commoditizing them and looking to take the money that those people have in savings, in assets, in benefit entitlements, and basically making them a commodity so they can extort all that money out of them. In my brother Talib's case, that's exactly what they're doing. They've already got all his social security benefit money. They're trying to take over his house. They're trying to take over all his assets, and at the same time, charging us council tax at 300%. It's just exhausting, tiring, having to go over this again and again. And nothing's changing. Today is the 20th of March 2023. All right, this issue's now been ongoing for the last since July 2020 since July 2000. In my personal circumstances, in my family's personal circumstances, this issue's now been ongoing since 1983. All right, so a period of nearly 40 years. Nothing's getting resolved. Our family is suffering as a consequence of the social care crisis. The governments are not putting any money in place, and this is just a joke. And I'm put into a situation of tyranny and control and enslavement, and there's nothing I can do about it. And ultimately, they are basically using corporate tyranny against me by issuing out council tax liabilities of £30,000, all right, which I can't afford to pay, which is on 300% of the council tax because the property is empty. And the reason the property is empty is because my brother, that property is not suitable to us, and it's being vacated to a place where I can provide him with care. That would entitle me to a council tax rebate, which they're not providing us with, and also we can't sell the property because they put restrictions. So we can't sell the property, we must keep it empty, we can't live there because it's not suitable for us. We've moved away, so then they can charge us council tax at 300%, and they're refusing to put the rebate which is we're entitled to. It's all just one big con. And they're doing this not only conning us, but conning all the ratepayers in Bradford. And then when I've gone to make a subject access request, they want my driving license and passport, which they don't have or don't need or don't require, but they're just doing that as an aspect of tyranny and control. And then when I've gone to the council and said I want to become a councillor, they've handed me a convicted fraudster, all right, and a criminal over all the people's name and addresses, personal data living in Bradford in my local area. So when somebody wants to run as a councillor, they bend over backwards to facilitate people becoming councillors who are effectively just figureheads. Just like this guy is a care coordinator, a social worker, but just is really just a figurehead. And the reality is that the corporation as a council are committing tyrannies and crimes against humanity, or crimes against my family, or crimes against me, and there's nothing I can do about it because the police won't investigate. The police are agency of the council because they're on the council's payroll. The judges and the judiciary and all the Ministry of Justice are equally effectively agents of Bradford Council, are on their unofficial payroll, and everybody's putting together a facade, a contrivance that everything is normal, everything's okay, everything's been dealt with, and the reality is that there's fraud and corruption and abuses and exploitation taking place, and I'm the victim of all this, and yet there's nobody I can go to, nobody I can speak to, there's no agency, no the government doesn't want to deal with this, no charity is going to be able to deal with this, no solicitors or barristers or judges wants to deal with this situation. They want to exploit and continue to victimize and persecute me, and yet nobody's looking to resolve the situation because they can't resolve the situation because they don't have the money to deal with the care situation, and yet they would rather enslave people like they're enslaving me and put me into this position of tyranny and control, and at the same time look to collect money, pull on the heartstrings of other people or the government and saying, look, we need money for the adult social care. You've got an adult social care fund that you're not utilizing and giving us any money. You're extorting money out of us. You're exploiting my labor. And then when I'm ringing up the council, they're saying, oh, we look, like he was saying, I don't know, that's past my remit. These are the things I'm permitted to do because of the position that we found ourselves in. I'm not willing to resolve any of your issues, and at the same time my brother's deteriorating. He's not got no access to a GP, he's got no access to any of his social care money, any social security money, got no access to his own siblings because the local authority have told everybody to basically have no contact with us and ghost us. So we're living basically in times of tyranny and control by the local authority, and these are issues that they've created because they are covering everything up. And the reason that they're targeting and victimizing me is that just as everybody else is now effectively an agent of the local authority, like for example the judges and the solicitors and the barristers and the Department of Work and Pensions and the Office of the Public Guardian and the Care Quality Commission and the Information Commissioner's Office and the Ministry of Justice. I was also on their unofficial payroll, and they were effectively paying me money under the table in order to keep the situation going. All right, so so I know that they commit fraud because I was subjected to that fraud. I was their agent, and I rebelled against them, and I looked to highlight the money that they were effectively unlawfully bribing me with. There was, I think, around about £410 and 70 pence a week that they were effectively paying me under the table to keep hush about the systemic failures in adult social care. And then when I refused upon them, they all turned around and targeted me, saying that I've been stealing money from them. Effectively, I was not stealing money from my family members. We have a family trust fund. I don't need to steal money. We got plenty of money coming in. I've got 4 or 5 people's benefit money that's all being accumulated into our family trust fund, which allows me to do what I do. All right, hold the people's empowering to account. But they've then reclassified my trust fund as proceeds of crime when all my family members had given me their money with capacity and consent, and now they're collecting money from. They're equally creating an adult social care fund, which they are accumulating from the public. All right, and taking as theirs and managing the money inappropriately because they're not providing my brother with access to such funds. So it's all tyranny and control. It's all fraudulent, and these crimes are being committed by the City of Culture, City of Bradford Metropolitan District Council, who have previously murdered both my brother Nazim and my mother. Murdered my brother Mr. Nazim Hussain in 2014, and then murdered my mother by forcibly giving her a vaccine that killed her within days in January 2022. And all I can do is make notes and record these for prosperity, because the reality is that nobody's helping us, nobody's assisting us, and we're suffering and effectively dying under the situation that they've created for us, and nobody cares.